coding aspects of HTML. So please do watch the end, subscribe, and do also like. This will help us to grow our community and also help us to keep on posting these amazing tips of HTML, hacking, coding hacks, and etc. Do also like and subscribe. So before we start, we need to create a folder. So we have to create a folder now. You don't have to create a folder, you can right click, and when you right click, you can come over to new year and you click on folder and your folder is created. Or you can use the shortcut Control Shift End to um create your folder, or you put, if you're using a MacBook, you can use um Command Shift End to create a folder. Hope you understand. Okay, I'll put that description. So now we created a folder. We will rename this folder and right click here and rename it to, we want to do a very short folder. You just have HTML. Let's just call it an HTML code. So then we will open our Visual Studio, which is open it here. So we have a choice when we want to open a folder, because we will be creating a lot of folders as we progress. I'm sorry, a lot of files as we progress. So there's a difference between file and folder. So here says open a file, here says open create a new file, open a new file. So if you create a new file here on the Visual Studio, you will not see it, it's not be saved. That's why you need to have a folder that whenever you create a file, it's actually safe. But if you click on this new file here and start coding, it will not work for you. It will, even after you're done coding, when you exit the page, it's all what you written will actually be lost because you did not save it in a folder. I hope you understand. You don't save it anywhere, so it will just be gone. But naturally, it will work the way it should work. But since you did not save it in a folder, it will not be saved. So we have the open file. Open file is if you just want to have a file, a HTML file, you can just open it. It's just going to open files. It's not to open a folder. Then we have these options here, open folder. So this is where we're going to open our folder. These other ones are like advanced one, but let's just go with this ones for now, then we'll proceed to educate you on the other one. So where is that our document is on the desktop, you can come here, HTML codes, and you say select this particular folder, and boom, we are on it now. So over here now, we can now come here and say create a new file because the folder is here. We can come here or we can come here to create a new file with just this file name and give it um tips. So you can write it small letters or is your choice, but I mostly like using small letters for my let's call it tips. It's HTML. So this is tips.html. So now you go over, click here, HTML. So naturally all this stuff came up. As I say, I almost type HT and other abbreviation came up. So why does this abbreviation came come up? There's a certain year in Visual Studio, extension, go back to extension. So there are some extension that I downloaded that made it to run. So I downloaded Lifesaver. Lifesaver is helping me. I can actually view it here. Go to live to just go to live down for me to always right click on the folder to go live. Um, yeah. So let's continue. So HTML. HT. Okay, so that's that. Then the document you can change it to document title, web page, pages, page. Let's call it page. It's just the one page. So you can write anything. This is just an illustration of how it works. So this is how the structure needs to be. So over here you have to have this. This bracket is always very important. Like this one here is less than and a greater than a bracket. So there must be a less than and there must be a greater than. This is to close the bracket. You cannot, you keep it like this, um it will actually not run. Especially if I was using Next.js and put up something like that. If you notice, when I did like this, all this one will altered, and when I brought back this one was altered because there's a block of code missing. So now I've put up this one, it is now actually working. So this is how it should be: a less than and a greater than arc. This is the code. It's very important that this tag is not missed. If it's missed, it's the line of code will not work, or it will work. So even it might work but stops. But actually in the HTML code, it does not even work because there's a line of codes that has not been completed. So it will not read complete. So it will turn out to give you an error. So this is how the structure needs to be. First, you need to have this doc type, HTML. Then the next thing you need to have this. These are very important. They are very necessary because these are global references of code. So it's very necessary. These are especially meta. Then the headings. This is what consists the headings. You have meta. This is very important. People say it's not important, but it helps your website to load very fast because of this. It's very important. Don't say it's not important. Don't clean up this code. It's always very necessary. This is the title. The title is very important because the title now, if I run, I said go live now. If I go live now, for it to show on my browser, this is how it will look like. You see, probably I did not write anything. Okay, title. This is how my title goes on web page. Remember, I put my web page here. Close this. So you see, the title here was web page. If you review it now on the go live, it's you see a web page. So that title is also very important for any website. So just like we check, if I check Jumia now and I have to see like Jumia like title here. So every website here has to have this title. It can be your logo, a brand logo, or anything, but it has to have a title. That's can be a logo, it can be anything that has to have a title. So in companies or organizations like Jumia, it's always like their company's names, like they're written at the title, which is like Jumia. So they have to be a closing tab. Closing tab is very necessary. This slash. So there's a difference. So if you notice here, you see that we have here in the opening tag, we have this is opening tag. Opening tag is not with a slash. So every opening tag here has a closing tag here. This is the closing tag. It must have a slash. So these ones without no slash before, without no slash here is opening tag. And this one with slash here is called closing tag. This is what tells you that this is the beginning of this and this is the end of this. I hope you're following. So these ones here, Even this heading here, this heading that tell that this is all everything needs to be in the header. These are all what needs to be run in the header, which is the title, the message, and everything. And it gives you here the slash. So less than slash the head and a close bracket, close greater than bracket. So I hope you are following. These are very essential. So over here now is the body. We have the body here. The body must have a close tag. If the body must have a close tag, just as the heading also must have a close tag. It's very important you follow the structure. This is the structure, a global structure that is used for any starting up HTML code. Then as you see at this end here, I even showed you this in the previous video. Please, if you have not watched it, try and watch it. Here over here we have like a slash also, slash a less than slash HTML and the bracket close. To tell you that this is actually closed there, that all these things should run out. If I write something outside this, it might actually write right. It might actually come up here, but if I may upload this, it might show error. And it's there's what we call engine. It might not read it through. We have what we call a robotic that reads some websites, and it only read websites that has all this closing and open tags. So if you leave it like that, if you write things after this one, it's not important. It's not it's not part of the code. When you push this particular code live, it's not actually um be good. So every content you need to write must be in your first HTML tag here, this one here highlighted, and it must be at the end. Every content must be within it, not outside it. Please, you have to note this. It must be within the content. So we have different kind of so we have explained about how the HTML tag, the opening and closing HTML tag, and we have explained about the heading. So this is the first thing you need to know. This is the structure of HTML. First, you have to have the HTML. You have HTML opening and closing tag. Then you have to have the header. The header is very important. Opening and closing tag of the header, and you have to have the body. Then close it up with this. Have you seen with this here highlighted with this? It needs to be closed with this. Just the same format. Please, it's very important to note. So now over we will be diving to next body. So what is body now? Body is every content. Every content is the body. The content inside seen in the website is the body. Everything inside is the body. So everything you need to write should be within the body. It should not be outside the body or outside the HTML tag. Please note this because people make this mistake and somehow they might not really know it is a mistake, but they just freely and frequently think it's right and they just do it. So you now you've heard this wisdom. Please do well to understand that you don't write content outside the body or outside the HTML. It's very important to grab this to help you progress to the next step. So the next thing you need to know is we have different tags in the body of an HTML file. So first we have what we call H1. H1 is header 1. Header 1 is called H1. So if you see header 1 now, go open a bracket, header 1, we close it, and I actually had downloaded an extension. That's why it's always immediately wrapping up the giving up me the next move I need. So this is HTML or H1, which is header 1. So header 1 here, header 1 is called header heading 1, sorry, not header 1, heading 1, heading heading 1. So the next one we have H2. Please, it needs to be in small letter H2. I will still be using this my short system, but you guys need to follow up, see it first, like see what I'm doing so that you can grab it and it should be within you. You understand, right? So let's call this one heading. Let me be using small letters so we can't get confused. So we'll be using big. Um, we have heading 3, then we have heading 3. So you'll see the differences of this, of all of this. So let me just be copying this one so I make it so smart and so easy. Call this heading 3. The next one we have heading 4. Okay, this should be heading 4. Please, you need to mind yourself while coding. Notice that I put heading 4 here, it did not change the other one. So you cannot write heading 4 here and write your heading 3. It's not correct. You need to write the same thing that you open it and the same thing that you close it. But you know, I told you about the opening tag and the closing tag. Must always be like that. But the content, this is HTML, H3 must end with H. The content, the next one that should close it should be H3, not H4. Please, you need to mind what while your mind or tries focus when you're coding, because all these simple mistake make your code to crash and it will now give you bug, and you realize that it's just a small thing that made you have that bug because you did not focus. So this is what you need to note again. Please note all the things I told you to note. If you're writing, good for you, so that you can actually recite it and let it stuck in you, or you be able to know it. So next one is uh, then we have the last one, which is hash 6. So let's preview how our stuff is already live, so it will automatic always since it's always live, it will always automatically update itself whenever you write. It will always update. If it does not update in your own, if you're having that issues, you can just reload and it will update by itself. But since I use the live saver, it actually needs to update immediately. I write anything on my body in my code, so it's always gonna update. So yeah, have you seen now heading 1, heading 2, heading 3? Have you seen the differences of each of these heading? You notice now heading 1 now, you see how big it is. Heading 1, heading 1 here is big, this one is like less bigger than heading 1, and you see the differences. These are all the headings we have. We don't have heading 7. If I put heading 7, it will read it as if it's a there's something like heading 7 in coding. I don't want to write it because I don't want us to waste our time writing things that are not valuable. We want to go straight to the business and we want to go as fast as possible to the business of our class. So get that we don't have H7, there's not like H7, H6 in when it comes to HTML, H6, H7, H8, the tag, opening and closing tag in Nigeria, something like that. We only have H1, H2, H3, heading 4, H5, and H6. These are called heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3 to heading 6. We don't have heading 7, heading 6, heading 10 in HTML. Please, this is very vital, so you cannot be doing mistakes. Get. So the next thing you need to know we have is paragraph. So we have paragraphs. What are paragraphs? So in normal English, you know that paragraphs are words we use to write maybe all our content, all our words, all our sentences, we use paragraph. So these are paragraph. P is for paragraph. So paragraph, you can call this one paragraph. You can say, hello, are you ready for the class? Did I make mistake in the class? Um, are you ready for the class today? Always be ready. Okay, so it's our paragraph, and you see, have you seen the clear difference between a paragraph and a heading and a paragraph? See how the paragraph is written, it's kind of having a different slogan of writing, like the structure is kind of very different to show you that this heading, no heading, normally headings, heading one is just like to give you a topic, if for like a topic of something, a subtopic of something. That's when you use heading one, heading two. But if you want to write content or you want to write sentences about a website or about a website, you use paragraph. So that's how the references work. Or you can, as you walk through the narrow and you understand every part, you can retreat it to your parts, what you want, what is helpful for you. So this is the guidelines. Please, we need to focus. We need to go to the next one. So you now have the next one. We have what we call sections. We have sections. We have okay, let's go to the listing. Listing. Let's go to listing. Let me use this one is called let me use heading one. Let me use heading one. So if you notice heading one cannot do what heading two is doing. Heading three cannot do what heading four is doing. So there are different narrative, different responsibility. That's why they have That's why they have classified them globally, heading one, heading two, heading three. So heading one cannot do what heading two is doing unless cannot do what heading two is doing. So you need to note that so that you can understand your code. I was about to say that there are some references that people use heading two and somehow they increase the voice, the this thing to much larger. This thing is not going to be helpful for your code. I'll talk about how all this later, but let's focus on the main deal. Is I don't want to switch to another um big space topic. Please follow along. Let's go to the next one. The next one we are going to is listing. So we are going to listing. So if you want to list item on your web pages, you will do this. So we have what we call UL. UL is you have LI. So UL is underlined. UL is or we have UL. Let's go. Let's see what UL one. Let's say one. Let's call this two. So when you use UL is going to give you a bullet signs. When we have UL for listing, we have two pattern for listing. We have UL and we have OL other listing. So let's say OL. So you still use LI. LI is the keyword used for to list within the OL open and close tab and the UL opening and close tag. So within it, you use li. So if you use ol, you see we have one other listing that's one, two. While the other one gives us a bullet, ul gives us the bullet. Give us this, ul give us this, then ol give us this other one. The next one we need to know is section. So in HTML, it's good for you to analyze your section. The next thing you need to know is comment. Let's go for comments. Let's go comment, yes. Comment first before section. So let's go to comment. We should just be using this H1 so that we can understand what time you're going to. H1 here we have comments. The next one we are doing is comments. So in comments here, so this is how we comment is we use control slash. We just say comment. Okay, let me see. Let me use key because this is like a sentence I want to make. Sorry, we don't use capital letter. Oh, the our tag we don't use capital letter. So we say um hello, comment me. So if you check here down, we say hello, comment me. So we can come here and say, okay, well, you want me to comment to you. So control slash. That's how we comment. Control slash. So you press control. Immediately you have to hold the control and hold the slash. You don't do control slash. You see, I just use control slash. I just realized I just clicked only slash. So you need to hold the control and you click the slash. You don't need to leave the control, or if you're using Mac, you use command. You don't need to use the command. So you hold it to, you hold the control or the command, then you click the slash, and then back, it will actually comment. So this is how we comment. Less than, hyphen, the dash, and the arrow bar it again. So that's the easy way you use to comment. This is what you use for comment. So what is comment used for? Comment is used in coding for two reasons, or if there are several reasons, but let me classify my illustration in two reasons. First reason is if you have a bug, if you have a bug and you want to like okay check what is happening to your code, maybe you don't want to delete everything, start afresh, you can comment those parts you may think that bug is from, and comment it and run your code again and say okay, let me check if I clean this particular line of code or this particular section of code, if it's gonna still give me errors. That's one thing we use comments for. Next thing that we use comments for is whenever we are writing a global, like if you're creating a website for a global organization or an enterprise, or any way you are actually writing or you're actually creating a code, you're actually building up your code, or being a web developer in an organization. Let me say if you're a web developer of Facebook or so on, any organization, Jumia, any organization, or even is a personal project, you have to actually have lots of code you're actually writing. You need to actually have comments. This comment helps you to know what each section is for, or what each part is for. You don't just write it, you don't just write your code. If you write your code like this anyhow from the beginning to the end, 3 months later, 3 months later, if you come and check your code, you'll be like, what is this function doing? Or what is this particular, what did I write this thing, this sentence for? So you can write a comment that when you come 3 months later, 4 months later, or a year later, you can actually understand what you did And if they say you should continue the project or debug something, you can actually come and debug it or debug it. You don't need to think or even start afresh, because I bet you if you don't comment on your codes, you might eventually end up starting afresh when you have a lot of codes on your visual on your on your you have a lot of lines of code, you might eventually start over again. Like you might even start from the HTML, like writing HTML, to even continue to the end, which can be very frustrating and can be very dulling, because you have to be productive. That's not how a productive person has to be. So if you want to be clarified with your code or help yourself to clarify while you're coding, you need to always add comments to each of your sections. So now this will take us to sections. What are sections? So there are different ways people put subsections. So we have what we call section. Section is just a normal tag that you can use like to identify a particular section. And say section one, you can say this is what I want to write my section one. Let's say P section, section of my content, section of my content. Hi. Okay, so this section is just to help you that okay, this particular section is for this particular content, particular section is holding up this particular content. So that's what section tag is for. So guys, this is a little bit of scratch. Okay, let's learn the next thing. On all your questions, please just keep it up for me in the comment section, and I will try my very best to give you the explanation you need to know for this particular video content. Please, let's not put up another video content for this one. I know that we have, but please, if you have any questions, put it in the comment section. So for this, I'm more coming up in our next video. Please do well to like, do well to subscribe.